All right, so we're going to work on Sunset. They have a fancier name for it, Luminous Sunset. So why don't I do that? Make it look more impressive. Luminous Sunset. That's what we're going to be working on. And if you don't watch the rest of the video, please watch this first 5 seconds where I show you down here, way down here towards the end, in order to create a sun ray effect so that we can make the sun look like, okay, like make some sun rays. They have us draw a triangle and put a mesh gradient on it. And I swear, this step 13, it takes me like 2 minutes to scroll through to get through. You know, draw this rectangle. Move some points with the anchor point tool. Stretch this, stretch that. And the end result is just a triangle with a gradient mesh applied to it. It is not that hard to do. All we need to do is to create a triangle and apply a gradient mesh. And then if we feel like adjusting some of these splines a little bit, we could, but they seem to go to a lot of trouble that I don't particularly think we need to do. So how do we draw a triangle? We choose the polygon tool. We click and release, and we say, I want 3, right? And then stretch it out. And it's not supposed to have a gradient in it. That's left over from what I was doing. I'm going to just choose a black swatch to fill it in with or something like that. But anyways, there's my triangle. Do I want a gradient mesh on it? Then I choose Object, Create Gradient Mesh. 4 rows and 2 columns. And boom, I'm done. Everything that they wanted to do, right? Then they start applying some fancy colors to it, and now that's the good stuff, right? But that's just the last frame of that multi-point step. All right, so now you know how to do that. If you want to do the rest of the assignment without watching the video, hey, great. So I'm going to start over. And I guess I'll leave that down because I'll be referring to this at a certain point. Hard to get things to share side by side. Alrighty, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a great big rectangle, and we're going to fill it with a gradient, a radial gradient. Here's what our end result's going to look like. And you can see that there's bright in the middle and dark at the edges. And so to do that, we're going to make a gradient. All right, so let's draw a rectangle and apply a gradient and add the colors that they want. So, rectangle tool. I'll stretch it out, make it big later. Gradient tool. Apply a gradient, but make it a radial gradient. What's that edit gradient do? I never remember. Oh yeah, don't do that. Can I undo that? All right. Yeah, there. All right, now I need to add the colors that they have. Color 1, color 2, color 3, color 4, and I'm going to add them as RGB colors. So I'm going to double click on this dot over here and switch it to RGB mode, which it already was. And I'm going to type in these numbers, 227, 229, 243, and then just click back here. Okay, so that put a white circle in it, well, kind of grayish actually. And now the next one is 227, 140, 89. So click under the gradient slider and then double click and type those colors in. 227, 140, 89. The third one, 161, 61, 75. So click underneath the gradient slider, double click, 161, 61, 75. And lastly, the fourth one, the one at the far end, 70, 20, 43. 70, 20, 43. If they'd given us these values, we could have just copied and pasted them, but I don't mind typing them in. Alrighty. So this needs to be large enough to fill the entire screen, doesn't it? Page, artboard. That's what we're filling. Okie doke. Step 2, with a pen tool, create a curve. Our favorite, the pen tool. Alrighty. So I'm going to grab the pen tool. I'm going to click and drag, click and drag, click and drag, and click and drag. And it's got a fill applied to it that I don't want, right? So I'm going to come over here and remove the fill. Sorry. Stop that. Okay. So I'm going to remove the fill from it and just have a stroke on it. And I think that mine does not look nearly as good as hers, but then I'm not as good at drawing pen tools. Let's give it a better shot though. I'm going to try once more, see if I can make a better stab at it. All right, so click and drag, come over here, click and drag, come over here, click and drag, come down here, click and drag, come over here, click and drag, and then click and release. Double click should end it. I think it's ended it. No, it has not. Well, if I choose this tool, it'll certainly end it. Okay, so I guess that's kind of like theirs. And I could choose the white cursor and I could mess around with the handles and stuff like that to try to make it curvier and swoopier if I wanted to. Now they have this higher on the screen than I do, so I'm going to be pushing it up higher on the screen. Right. Looking at it, they cut the bottom of this off. I don't remember doing that. Oh, they moved the bottom of it down with the Edit Gradient tool. Right. So this does not fill the entire page. And if I want to mimic what they've done there, then I would expand this like that, but reduce this like that to leave off part of the bottom of the page, and I don't really see why we're going to do this. And then I'm going to choose the palette tool, the gradient tool, and choose Edit Gradient and pull the center of the gradient down. And frankly, it made it look horrible. Nope. No, I never have understood this tool very well. I'm going to leave it alone. The only reason we left that white is so that later on we can come and draw something down here. We can draw some mountains at the bottom. It's not letting me grab the slider there. Anyways, if I pull it all the way down, we see that we drew some mountains at the bottom of the page. And so we didn't have to have white down there in order to draw mountains. So I'm okay with leaving it where it is. So now we're going to do we've done this before, where we draw something and then we stretch it out. So create the art brush. Take the ellipse tool, create a circle. Use the direct selection tool, the white cursor, transform the ellipse to stretch it out, and then make an art brush from it. All right, we can do that. So I'm going to choose the ellipse tool, draw a circle, fill it with red, and then I'm going to grab the direct select tool, stretch it out. Is that kind of how they have it? Yeah, I think so. Close enough? They seem to have done something slightly different. Maybe they stretched out the front too. Yeah, I think they did. All right, and then we're going to make an art brush. So I'm going to click on the brushes. I'm going to click on the new symbol, new brush. Man, after all those years of the new symbol being a piece of paper with a folded corner, and they finally changed it into a plus. 17 years later. Alrighty, anyways. I want it to be an art brush. Click OK. Guess I'm just going to click OK on all of these because they didn't say to change any of the settings. And now I have an art brush. What were we going to do with it? We're going to apply that to the curve. So, come back up here with the black cursor, select that curve, and then click on that brush. And now it's a big swoopy thing. With the direct select tool, transform the line to make it look bumpy. All right, so I'm supposed to choose that. Click on here. Well, I've missed a step. Went a little too fast. Apply the brush to the curve. Without deselecting the curve, go to Object, Expand Appearance, and then fill it with this color. 2338883. Okay, so Object, Expand Appearance. Object, Expand Appearance. Now see, when I did that, it put a heck of a lot more dots on mine than it did on theirs. And I know that there's a way of controlling that, and I don't really know where. If I go to Object, Path, Simplify, or Remove Anchor Points, how does that make it look? Well, no, that's not really what I wanted to do, is it? Object, Path, Simplify. Yeah, that makes it look better. Fewer points. I like it. And we can control how few or how many with that slider. All right. Anyways, it's better than it was. I had just way too many points for the next step they were coming up with. So let's change the color. So I'm going to shift click over here, shift click, and I'm going to switch to RGB using the little hamburger menu. Type in those colors. 223, 88, 83. And I don't think I did it. I must not have had it selected. Try it again. Although if I create a swatch from what I just did, then it'll be there and I won't have to type them in again. So I'm just going to click on the pull down, click on the hamburger menu, choose new swatch. There it is. There's my 2238883, so that I can pick my shape and apply that color. Now, if you're not going to do it that way, that's fine, right? All you have to do is pick your shape, shift click on the color, switch over to RGB and type the values in. All right, so now we have our great space worm floating out there. With the direct select tool, make it look bumpy. You say so. Click and release. Click and release. Click and release. Click and release. Right? Click and release. Is that bumpy enough, gang? I don't know. It is for me. And then without deselecting the line, which I keep doing, as soon as I'm done drawing, I always click on the background and, oh no, I didn't do it that time. But usually I click on the background to deselect. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to select it again, and I'm going to choose Effect, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And it looks like they're suggesting 57 pixels. So Effect, Blur, Gaussian Blur. 57 pixels. See what that makes it look like. My preview toggle is off. There. Well, anyways, I think that's good. Now I am going to deselect it by clicking on the gray background. Alrighty. Now believe it or not, that'll start to look better as we go along. Step 7. Create a mountaintop with the pencil tool. Alrighty. So choose the pencil tool. Just draw some jagged lines along the bottom. And I made them more curvy. How to control the bumpiness of the line that you're drawing. I swear there used to be a place where you controlled the smoothing of it. Well, isn't that annoying? I mean, yeah, if I wanted straight lines, I could use the pen tool. Right click, 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 click. I don't want to do that, so I guess I'll go with however smoothy or unsmoothy they make it. Let's try that again. Kind of eyeball what we're doing. Looks like my rectangle's gone off the edge of the artboard again. Well, I am real surprised at what it just did there. Using a pencil tool, it cut my rectangle in half, right? Just like I'd use the knife tool. I've absolutely never seen that happen before. But it's because I had the rectangle chosen. That's crazy. So if the rectangle is selected, you can use the pencil tool to draw a piece and cut it off. That's wild. But if I deselect it, all right. Pencil tool, smoothing, Adobe, Illustrator CC. Sorry, I'm using a different recorder and I'm afraid to click the pause button for fear that it's going to stop it. Well, this looks like a fun tutorial. Well, it's funny because normally you do want the pen tool to be nice and smooth, and so I guess that's what it does by default, and I'm going to live with it. All right, so make sure nothing is selected. Once more with feeling. And then if you cared, you could go in and you could use a white cursor to adjust the points, right? If you wanted some sharp edges in them. All right, so enclose the mountain outline with the pen tool and then fill it with a dark color. So we're just going to use the pen tool to, to click, 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 click so that we can then fill it. All right, so grab the pen tool. Click on one of the anchors. Go to the bottom of the page. Go to the next bottom of the page. Come up. And now it should be done. So select the back cursor and let's change the color of our shape. Where did our shape go? It's still here. Good. And fill it with a color, but we need to fill it with the color that they want. 59, 52, 86. So shift click, choose RGB, 59, 52, 86. Alrighty. Copy the form of the mountains and paste it behind. Scale back the copy's width using the selection tool. So we're supposed to make this one actually wider than the drawing itself. And then we're going to copy and paste it and make the next one not as wide. So I kind of did that here, but all right, so stretch it out a bit. They want me to copy it. And then paste in back. If I paste in back, did it put it behind everything? Is it even behind this guy? Nope, it didn't quite. Okay, and so it wants me to take the copy that's behind, or take one of them, scale the copy's width using the selection tool. Okay, so I have two of them now. And the one that's in front, I'm going to leave alone. The one that's behind, I'm going to make skinnier by dragging it in. Then I guess I'll bring this back up. And I know that they're going to have us put a different color on the one that's behind. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now so I can tell what I'm doing. But then they're going to make it fancier than that. They're going to use a gradient. So you can see what they're doing with that idea. Trying to make it look kind of three-dimensional. So fill this form with a linear gradient that goes from 127.63, 151 to white and then back. Okay, so I'm going to choose the one in the background, the one that I colored blue. Fill it with a gradient. It's going to be a linear gradient. And these colors are wrong. It needs to go from the color that they specified, 127.63, 151, so double click that. 127.53, 63, excuse me. 151. And in the middle it needs to be white. And on the edge it needs to be this color again. Well, I like that color so much I'm going to make a swatch out of it so I could choose it again. I don't see how to make a swatch out of it, so I'll just have to type it in. Enable Do Not Disturb.
I turned on Do Not Disturb.
All right. Where was I? 127.63, 151. All right. Okay. All right, I do need to actually stop this. Hope I don't lose the recording. I'll make a part 2.